This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show, a weekly recap of your Philadelphia Eagles. Broadcasting live from Hard Rock Cafe in Philadelphia, tonight's show is brought to you by Penn Community Bank, Hard Rock Cafe, Philadelphia, Independence Blue Cross, The Capitol Grill, Rob's Automotive and Collision, and BCWSA. We now go live to the Hard Rock Cafe in downtown Center City, Philadelphia for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Now, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
And welcome, everybody. This is the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show right here on 1490 WBCB and 107.3 FM. You can also watch streaming on Facebook Live. We're at the beautiful Hard Rock Cafe at 12th and Market in downtown Philadelphia, celebrating a 3-0 Eagle team, only two 3-0 teams in the NFL. A third possibly will become 3-0 tonight. But Paul Domowitch, nice performance yesterday down in Washington. Carson Wentz, not great. The Eagles' first half was great. We'll bring our guest on in a second. What do you have to say about yesterday's participation?
Yeah, I mean, they went down there and got the job done. Another solid first half where they jumped out and got a lead. And
24 in the first half seems to be their thing.
Yep.
Never in the history of the franchise before. That kind of surprised me. Had they scored at least 24 in three consecutive first halves. But they did yesterday, and they hold it and win 24-8. Carson Wentz, the big, not return because they played it on the road, but Carson yesterday I thought exhibited everything he had a problem with here. Held the ball too long, sometimes waited on receivers. 7-step drop, as we talked before the show. That's more the offensive coordinator. Did you see the old Carson, or did the Eagles attack him? Was it more the Eagles, or was it more Carson?
Well, I thought it was a combination of both. He definitely continues to hold on to the ball too long. I mean, what's he in his 6th, 7th year? Still hasn't learned. Yeah. Didn't understand the offensive game plan, though, where they had him taking 7-step drops, long developing routes. And the Eagles got a good rush. They got a solid rush on them, so it was a combination of all those. 9
sacks. Jalen Hurts, terrific, throwing for almost 300 yards in the first half. Devontae Smith, in case you're worried about him, no catches the first week. Kind of came out the second week, exploded yesterday. Jalen spreading the ball around. Terrific offensive performance. The line playing well. Jalen is growing before our very eyes, and we'll talk about that right now with our guest, who's the greatest guest we could ever have on this show, because he is the man who tells it like it is. He's honest. He's from Phoenix. He played here for a long time. You used to see him on NBC Sports Philadelphia's postgame show. Not anymore. We'll talk about that and much more with Mr. Seth Joyner. Seth, how are you, buddy?
What's going on, gents?
That's what we ask about you. What's going on with Jalen Hurts improving before our eyes? Are the Eagles elite? Are they not elite? Give us your lowdown on what you saw yesterday.
Well, I think that Jalen Hurts is slowly but surely going about his business, proving all the naysayers and the doubters wrong. And I think that this young kid has been dealing with and going through this his entire football career.
Sure.
And the best thing that anyone can do is, not talk a whole lot, just go about your business and show people what you are and who you are, and let your work speak for itself. As far as the team is concerned, I mean, you got to be excited about what you see. I mean,
both sides of the ball.
Yeah.
Well, absolutely, and just staying on the offensive side of the ball. If you look at what they've done, everyone's talking about that they haven't scored any points in the second half, and I don't think they've scored one point at all in the fourth quarter. But if you go back and you look at the last 3 games, I think they scored 17 or 24 of their 38 points in the second quarter in game 1. They scored 17 of their 24 points in the second quarter, game 2. And they scored all 24 of their points all in the second quarter again. So there's something about this second quarter where they're exploding offensively, but they're not getting much else done after that. And, the objective is to win the game at the end of the day. And they did enough offensively to win the game. But when you start playing against the elite level teams, the better teams, the teams they're going to have to beat if they really want to make a run at the Super Bowl, they're going to have to produce points every single, throughout the game. They're going to have to score in the second half. They may find themselves down in the third quarter, or down in the fourth quarter, going down the stretch, and they're going to have to produce some points.
Don, well, that's an interesting point. The second quarter, obviously, we talked about how they haven't put the hammer down in the second half, how really good teams do put the hammer down. They haven't had to do that yet, except week 1 against Detroit, which to me was a glorified exhibition game. But the second quarter thing, is it a Houdini-esque, or is there a reason for it?
No, I mean, they still are starting slow. Their first and second possessions, they haven't. Yesterday I think both were, if they weren't 3 and outs, they both were punts, definitely. And then it's kind of like a car with the air conditioning on. It's from the stop. It's going slow, and then all of a sudden it just motors. But I mean, they're putting up the points, and that's what's important. What I like about Jalen is the trust he has right now with Smith and A.J. Brown. I mean, you saw yesterday, he was throwing some balls up knowing they were going to be able to go get it, and they went up and got him. I mean, he's got 2 guys there that are going to catch some 50-50 balls.
And Quez Watkins creating the penalties downfield. I mean, Dallas Goedert, he's obviously got a full set of weapons. Seth, you made a good point about Jalen that I never really thought about. He went to Alabama. He started as a freshman there. Obviously, he was a stud in high school. Tua beat him out. Ridiculous. He held the national championship game thing to his breast pretty well. Didn't really complain. Went out and replaced Tua when he hurt his hip. At Oklahoma, he had Lincoln Riley, who's a tremendous offensive coordinator, head coach, obviously. Comes here. I mean, you've coached some, and we're going to ask you later about coaching, but how hard is that? We always hear about a coach, about Dak Prescott or whoever, having 5 offensive coordinators in 4 years. How hard is it to get a new offense, new terminology, new players? That's got to be tough on you.
Well, the hardest thing at the quarterback position is that, you're at the helm and you're controlling everything. But it's incumbent upon you to understand what everybody does. Like the offensive linemen, they can understand, Jason Kelce can turn to the guys and tell them, we got, solid protection. That's all good. But Jalen Hurts, he's got to not only know what he's supposed to do, what his progressions are, and what he's supposed to read, and what his footwork is supposed to look like, but he needs to know where all 10 other guys are on the field. He should be able to close his eyes and be able to know that, you know what, if I want to drop this ball off to the guy, my safety valve, I don't even have to look over there. I can just throw it over there. And that takes time. The only way you have that kind of, cohesion in the offense is because you've played in it enough and you've experienced it enough that you know it, like the back of your hand. It's like, you don't think about walking. You just put one foot in front of the other. The offense has to be to a quarterback along those lines, and that's why it's so hard to play the position because, there's a lot to learn, a lot to understand, a lot to know. A lot has to happen in adjustments because I can promise you there's 10 to 15 looks that a quarterback, an offense is going to get in a game, and the coaching staff has sat down with the quarterback and said, hey, listen, when we get this look, this is what we want to get to because this is a good opportunity to take advantage of this look. So the quarterback has to know and learn a lot of stuff. So the longer he's in that system, the more second nature it becomes, the more fluent he's going to, become in that system as well. And just to touch on, your last point, you talked about, Paul, how slow they start. They have started slow. And I think, throughout the first 4 games of the season, that's the toughest part for offenses and defenses, to kind of figure out because you don't have 4 games to study and see who and what a team is. By the time I get four game films, in my study, I can tell you who you are, and what you're trying to do. In a lot of ways, I give, believe it or not, Nick Sirianni and Shane Steichen a lot of credit for being able to adjust so quickly. Mm-hmm. You go into Detroit, and they come out blitz crazy. Nobody thought that's the type of defense they were going to come out and play. The adjustment was Jalen Hurts running the ball 17 times. Everybody wanted to burn their hair off. Oh, he can't run the ball that many times. Well, he wasn't running just because he wanted to. He was running because they had to. Yeah. Because from a protection standpoint, they couldn't figure it out. Then you come back against Minnesota week 2, and they sit in this vanilla zone, and he sits in the pocket and just takes them apart. So now you go into this game. Every game is going to be different. So sometimes, teams come in predictably playing the same type of defense, and your game plan works to perfection from the beginning. Other times they do things that you don't anticipate, and it takes a couple of series for you to kind of figure it out and adjust to it.
Yeah, absolutely right. And what I've seen from the defensive side of the ball this year You know, last year they were very susceptible on first and second possessions. They were getting buried early, playing catch up because they weren't ready for what they were seeing from offenses. This year they're better prepared. I think the first game they gave up a touchdown on the first possession, but the last couple games I believe they haven't given up scores on first and second possessions.
What about Nick Sirianni's comment, which I think is really interesting? A lot of quarterbacks, you see a Justin Herbert or Pat Mahomes or anybody in their first, second year. We've seen Josh Allen kind of progress through all the foibles he's had to get to where he is now. But you say, is this guy going to reach his ceiling, whoever he is? He's got talent, but is he going to reach that place that he can get to? Nick Sirianni said, I know Jalen's going to reach his ceiling. I just don't know what his ceiling is. Seth, how unusual is it for a player to have all the intangibles as Jalen does, but not necessarily the tangibles, the things you can see? Is he kind of backwards for a quarterback? And isn't that a terrific thing in one regard?
No, I don't think he's quarterback. I don't think he's backwards, rather. I think he's an anomaly in today's game. Lamar Jackson is an anomaly in today's game. You know, I mean, he's finally figuring out and finding his mechanics and learning how to throw the ball. That makes him twice as dangerous. You know, I mean, yesterday, 4 touchdown passes and 1 rushing?
Yep.
I mean, that's dangerous. Yeah. The traditional guy, he's going to stand in the pocket. He's going to try to manipulate the pocket. You don't have to worry about him running. You don't have to worry about, him scrambling. But the reason why some of these guys really don't have a ceiling is because they can affect the game on 3 different levels. When you go run pass option, you're a triple threat. You can hand it off and run it. You can run it or you can pass it. And when you have the ability to affect the game that way and be effective in that way and dominate in that way, there is no ceiling because there's only going to be a handful of defenses and defensive coordinators with the football intellect that can even come up with a way to slow you down, let alone try to stop you.
One of the things I like about what I'm seeing from Jalen is because the run is always going to be a part of his game, just like it is with Lamar. But he knows when to get down. He knows when it's not going to be there, not going to get the first down, slide, don't take the hit. He's getting smarter and smarter about that.
You know what I like? The other thing that he's becoming more proficient at is whether it's zone or man, there was a time where he just take off and try to run. There's nowhere to go against zone because the guys drop to their landmarks or they pattern match and they see you. So in situations like that, what he should be doing is scrambling horizontally to the line of scrimmage to buy time and let the short guys turn around and take it deep and the deep guys come back and present, a target for him. But when it's man-to-man coverage, I mean, most of the time you're going to be in single high safety. The only guy that can see you is the safety. He's 30 yards down the field. Everybody else is in man coverage with their backs turned. That's the time you take off and run because he's going to get 15 to 20 yards before the defense can even react to him.
Seth, something I learned long ago in my short football career, you obviously had one slightly longer than mine, is that there's nothing in football like being able to attack a quarterback with a 4-man rush. If you remember 20 years ago, New England beat the Rams in the Super Bowl, the greatest show on turf, because they rushed with 4 and could drop back with 7. Not one simple reason, but most people think that's why they won the game. Eagles did that yesterday. Now, they had a quarterback that held the ball too long, an offensive line that's not exactly getting fit for Canton right now. But still, how important to you is it to be able to rush with 4? You may not get 9 sacks every game, but it lets your defense work on the back end too.
Listen, I think there's a time that you have to rush with 4.
But people are so blitz happy. They want to blitz. There's no reason to blitz.
No, listen. I am. Don't get it wrong. I am a blitz advocate. Okay, and this is why. I'm a blitz advocate because the thing that affects quarterbacks more than anything is pressure. There's only 1 or 2 quarterbacks, maybe 3 quarterbacks in this league right now, in the National Football League right now, that they're pressure adverse. All the rest of them, the minute that they feel pressure, they turn into a different animal. Yeah. The reason why the Eagles' defense was so bad last year, and people would like to talk about, they're trying to figure out how Jonathan Gannon became this head coaching candidate last year. Well, the proof is in 2 halves of a season. All you got to do is look at the first 7 games. They go 2-5. They play against the meat of their schedule, and they get decimated, dominated, because he played way too passive, too much zone, too much four-man rush.
And against the better quarterbacks,
Against the better quarterbacks, okay? Yeah. So in the second half of the season, they pretty much played the Sisters of the Poor every single week, So they played so much better, and statistically they were so much better across the board. But he still remained relatively passive. Now, if, there's a time, and I'm not talking about blitzing, Paul, from the standpoint of, just like Buddy Ryan, just set your hair on fire and go every single. There's a time and a place, and there's a balance to it. But if you're rushing forward and you're not having success, you can't just keep rushing forward and hoping that you're going to get there and sit back in the end zone. So the adjustment is to create pressure. If you can be creative enough to bring a free runner, to show from one side and come from the other, if you can create pressure in important situations, then guess what happens? You speed up the quarterback's clock. The quarterback has got one read and one read only, and if he makes a mistake, it's a turnover. They were 31st in the league in sacks last year because they refused to blitz. They were one of the worst turnover ratio teams in the league last year because they couldn't generate pressure.
Yeah.
And I'm not just talking about in the passing game. There are run blitzes when you're playing against a team that's running the ball down your throat that you can put to rest too. But you got to have an aggressive mindset and say, okay, enough is enough. We're going to put a stop to this.
All right, Don, we'll let that wait till after the first break. There's a song called Pressure by David Bowie. It works in music. We're here at the Hard Rock Cafe. It works in football as well. And here at the Hard Rock, happy hour every Monday to Friday, 5 to 7 p.m. There's $1 off Bud Light, Sam Adams, and Blue Moon. $6 House Chardonnay and Merlot. $5 Smirnoff and Cruzan rum single liquor drinks. 7 for doubles. Double your sports talk Mondays from 5 to 7 here at Hard Rock with the Monday Night Kickoff Show and Bull Session. Bull Session following us tonight with Dan Baker and Larry Boa. They have a guy named Charlie Manuel as their guest. You may have heard of him. 9-26 and 10-3. As long as the Phillies are in, talk the Phillies playoff run. The Eagles road to victory while enjoying some great food and their happy hour specials. Join us here at the Hard Rock for live entertainment in the cafe every Wednesday. Enjoy some great food and our happy hour drink specials. This week's performer live. We'll tell you about it a little bit later on. Happy hour all the time at the Hard Rock where everything is good, the food is good, the drinks are great. Come on down, 12th to Market. We're back with the Monday Night Kickoff right after this.
Hard Rock Cafe in Center City at 12th and Market Streets has it all. Great food takes center stage with dine-in and pickup available. Their burgers are so famous, they have their own chauffeurs. So order delivery and catering too. So if you're celebrating or just getting the band together, Hard Rock Cafe's got your back. For more info, hit up hardrockcafe.com.
I'm Lisa Thomas-Laurie. If you're on Medicare, I've got great news. Keystone 65 HMO plans from Independence Blue Cross have earned 5 stars, Medicare's highest rating for 2022. Some plans have no monthly premiums, no deductibles, and no copays for primary care visits and some prescription drugs. Don't wait. Visit ibxmedicare.com/star.
Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. Keystone 65 offers HMO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Keystone 65 Medicare Advantage plans depends on contract renewal. This is a paid endorsement.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Fall into relaxation at Hand and Stone Massage and Facial Spa. For an introductory price of just $69.95, enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. They even have specialty services such as a pumpkin facial or their signature hot stone massage. Restore, relax, and reset at one of Hand and Stone's 57 locations in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley. For an introductory price of just $69.95. Call or book online at handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe, Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
And welcome back to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show live from the Hard Rock Cafe, Philly. Don't forget, you can watch the show live at WBCBSports.com and Facebook Live by searching WBCB Sports. Paul Jolovitz, Paul Domowitch, along with Seth Joyner tonight. Another guest we had, Domo, last year, the last couple of years, a terrific guy. Seth knew him very well. Unfortunately, won't be a guest this year or any other year. He passed away last week. Wonderful minister here in Philadelphia, third-round draft choice of the Eagles from Long Beach State back in the day. Mr. Herb Lusk, may he rest in peace. Seth didn't want to do this show without mentioning Herb. Obviously, we want to memorialize him. Anything you want to say about Herb, go to it.
No, listen, I appreciate it, Paul. You know, he was one of my best friends. A lot of people don't know, you know, when I was here in Philadelphia, I pretty much lived with Herb, you know, down in Society Hill Towers. And it was really tough the last 8-9 months to, you know, watch a good friend, watch such an iconic man in the city. You know, I don't think people really understand, you know, what he's meant to Philadelphia. You know, he came in as an Eagle. He told Dick Vermeil when he drafted him he was only going to play 3 years and he was going to go into ministry. Everybody thought he was crazy, you know. And after 3 years, he retired and went to the ministry, and he took over a church on the 700 block of, you know, Broad Street. I mean, where, you know, you got to understand, back then, no one went north of City Hall. Yeah. I mean, that's how bad it was up there. And he went up there, and the transformation that you see from City Hall forward has a lot to do with Herbert H. Lusk, you know, and Greater Exodus Church right there. I was introduced to him by Reggie White my rookie year. We became good friends. We've been friends for the last, you know, 36, 37 years, and it's going to be tough for me to spend as much time as I spend here and not be able to be in his company anymore. And, you know, it's a sad day that man is no longer here. But I know who he was and, you know, who he believed in and who he stood for. And therefore, I know where he is, and I believe and know that I'll see him again.
Wonderful man.
Great man.
Yep.
Yeah. May he rest in peace.
May he rest in peace is right. Seth, I guess the fans are quick. We call overreaction week 1, overreaction week 2 the other way. From the Eagles aren't this and that against Detroit, a team that have clearly improved, to they've beaten the Vikings, which I thought would happen because I don't think the Vikings are very good, to be honest with you. But after yesterday, the talk is going to get louder with them being only one of a couple undefeated teams in the NFL. Whatever elite means to you, obviously after 3 weeks, it's kind of ridiculous to talk about a team heading for whatever they head for in February being elite. But are they elite? What do they have to do to be elite? And when will you know that they are elite, if they are, if that's not too much to ask in one question?
Well, I'll tell you what, I think that they have elite talent. You know, now that talent is still developing. They're still trying to figure out who they are. But when you look at the weapons, I mean, think about week 1, you know, A.J. Brown.
Yep.
Think about week 3, Devonta Smith. We haven't even talked about Dallas Goedert. When is Dallas Goedert going to have one of those games? You know, Miles Sanders, 90 yards first week on 13 carries, 80 yards the second week on like 15 carries. You know, I don't think he had any more than 42 yesterday. Nope. But when is he going to have, you know, one of those breakout games? You know, there's so many weapons on. And Quez Watkins, I mean, he's just lightning in a bottle waiting to strike at any moment. You know, and then you got Zach Pascal, who's out there blocking and converting third downs in certain situations. They've got so many weapons that if they can just stay healthy on the offensive side of the ball, then they're going to be fine. And then on the defensive side, I honestly believe that, you know, week 2 against Kirk Cousins was the proof that Jonathan Gannon needed that he can be a pressure defensive coordinator. I don't think he ever really thought that that's what he wanted to do or who he wanted to be. I don't know that, you know, having Vic Fangio as a consultant in the building isn't, you know, pushing him out of his comfort zone as far as that's concerned. But I like what I'm seeing.
That's a great point. Yeah.
I really like what I'm seeing. And if he believes that those guys on the back end can cover and get it done, then there's opportunities. I mean, there's opportunities in 2nd and long and 3rd and long to reestablish field position, because we sure ain't making no punt returns.
Yeah, Devontae Smith, was there anything to that yesterday? Obviously, they're getting a little sick and tired of what all the fans are getting sick and tired of, the 3-yard punt returns, the east to west, the fair catches that Jalen Reagor.
Listen, I'm not even going to put it on this kid. Listen, I like Britton
I
Covey.
like Britton Covey, too. He's terrific at Utah. More kickoff returns than punt returns.
I like him. I like him a lot. But when you're getting tackled by 6 guys and the guys that are supposed to be blocking those 6 guys come jogging down the field afterwards, that's a problem for me.
Yeah.
You know, and I think Nick Sirianni he needs to put the hammer down. At least give the kid a chance.
Yeah.
I mean, he got peppered yesterday. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, Damo, I've loved Britton Covey since he was at Utah. I mean, he returned a kickoff for a touchdown in the Rose Bowl, but nobody would have any chance here. The special teams just aren't that special, and there's going to become a game where you're going to have to get a spark from that side of the ball. Can that come? Can it happen?
Yeah, I mean, I think they need to work a little bit on the blocking schemes. I mean, you watched that game last night. I can't remember. I watched a couple of punts. I can't remember if it was Detroit punting or Green Bay punting or. Yeah. But I mean, there was nobody. I mean, the guy able to catch it, and it wasn't a particularly high catch. And he had 10 yards like given to him before he even had to figure out how to avoid a tackler. So, but you don't see that with Covey so far.
Well, there's two different things that's going on. You're either going after the punt, and if you're going after the punt, you're probably not going to get good blocking downfield. Yeah. So now you just wave your hand and take the fair catch. Yeah. But when you got a middle return, a right or left return set up, you're trying to hold guys up at the line of scrimmage. Then you got to let them go. Now you're supposed to run with them side by side. Then you got to get back in front of them and shield them off to the side that you actually want to get to. And I don't see these guys doing it. And I mean, listen, if I was the punt returner yesterday, those guys would have got cussed out. Like, listen, if you ain't going to block, then I'll just fair catch them all. Hey, coach, if they're not going to block, I'll fair catch them all. But I'm not going to get tattooed by 5, 6, 7 guys every single time that I catch the ball, because these guys who are going to collect the check tomorrow, they don't want to do their damn job.
And when they do that, Damo, who's the guy that takes the fall, the punt returner, for fair catching the ball? Yeah, you got to have special teams. You got to work.
He took some shots. Boy.
All right, Seth, if you could fill in the blank, I'm just going to say a name, a guy that I've loved since college, love now. Think he's going to be a terrific Eagle. Think he's Jeremiah Trotter version 2.0, a little smaller. Nakobe Dean, stream of consciousness. What comes to your mind?
Listen, I love the kid coming out of college. My top 2, linebackers coming out was he and Devin Lloyd. I had Devin Lloyd just a little higher than him. There was no way the Eagles were going to get him. But I think, Nakobe Dean has a lot of talent. The problem is, the 2 guys that are playing in front of him are playing lights out. Listen, the Kazir White pickup, love it. Absolutely love it. Because he can cover tight ends and backs without safety help, which allows you to free up an extra safety that you don't have to drop down on him. And T.J. Edwards is just playing out of his mind. He's gotten a taste of what being a starting linebacker is. Signed a little, get me by, prove him contract. And he's playing like, he wants to be paid like a starting linebacker. And he's playing like, like one of the better linebackers. I don't know. I think he's rated. He rated like the number 2 linebacker in all the National Football League after the last 3 weeks.
With T.J. Edwards, and you found this a lot in your career, when you're a starting linebacker, the guy behind you is Vinny Bombats, and then Nakobe Dean becomes the guy behind you, breathing down your neck. You go from wanting to play well to having to play well to keep your job. Could that be a factor? Obviously, you can't measure it. You have no idea, but could it be a factor?
No, because it could be. It could be. I'm pretty sure with the way he played last year and the extension that he signed, the last thing that he thought that they were going to go and draft a linebacker after they, signed Kazir White. So I'm pretty sure in the back of his mind he's probably like, what the heck is going on? But at the end of the day, I mean, all you have to do is look back to last year when he got a chance to start, when he got a taste of what it was going to be like to be a starter. He just turned it on. Coming into this year, I thought that he was even last year, I felt like he was a passing game liability.
Yeah.
That even in his zone drops, that he didn't get out of his breaks fast enough, that he wasn't seeing what was going on, and he certainly couldn't cover anybody man-to-man. That has all changed this year.
Yeah, I really underestimated that in him. I mean, I figured, okay, he's a first and second down linebacker, then they're going to bring in Dean, and Edwards has played phenomenally against the pass so far. I just was shocked the hell out of me.
Nakobe didn't get any snaps yesterday.
He hasn't gotten any snaps last 2 games,
Wow.
and before that, I think he got like 3 one game and 5 the other.
Yeah, they got Jordan Davis, who made a couple mistakes yesterday too. When those 2 unleashed. Listen, when we come back, we're going to attack a topic that I called Paul this morning, and his wife said he was in his room crying. Seth apparently has been distraught all day. The Pro Bowl, folks, is no more. They're going to have a flag football game. We'll talk about the Pro Bowl, its importance to the NFL, then get back serious and go around the NFL, talk some more Eagles. I want to remind you here, Friday Night Live, live music every Friday from 6 to 9. No cover with the best local artists on the main stage every week. Make your reservations. Check out Hard Rock Philly's 90s Night, hosted by the band 9D's Night. That fits, doesn't it? Saturday, October 15th, 8 p.m. to midnight, $10 general admissions, $15 for a table in the lounge, delivering an exciting flashback of 90s nostalgia from Nirvana to NSYNC, Snoop Dogg, and the Spice Girls. Will have all the sights and sounds of your favorite decade with this fun, interactive experience. Go to www.hardrock.com. We come back with the Monday Night Kickoff with guests Seth Joyner and Paul Domowitch following this.
Hard Rock Cafe in Center City has it all. Great food, free live entertainment on Friday nights, and they're the epicenter for special occasions. Let them rock and roll to you with catering for your next gathering, or book a private event space for your band's next meeting. Whether it's lunch, dinner, or late night, let them turn it up at Hard Rock Cafe at 12th and Market Street. For more info, visit hardrockcafe.com.
I'm Lisa Thomas Laurie. If you're on Medicare, I've got great news. Keystone 65 HMO plans from Independence Blue Cross have earned 5 stars, Medicare's highest rating for 2022. Some plans have no monthly premiums, no deductibles, and no copays for primary care visits and some prescription drugs. Don't wait. Visit ibxmedicare.com/star.
Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. Keystone 65 offers HMO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Keystone 65 Medicare Advantage plans depends on contract renewal. This is a paid endorsement.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Don't hang out alone in the man cave this football season. Hang out at Cheerleaders with sexy entertainers, $4 Miller Lights, Jameson specials, and awesome game day prizes during all Sunday and Monday football games. Stop in before, during, or after the game to see your favorite entertainers and your chance to win an awesome game day prize. The most epic game day experience is at Cheerleaders Gentlemen's Club, where champions play. Open daily from noon till 2 a.m.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
All righty, back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show from here at the Hard Rock Cafe. Seth Joyner is our guest. Mr. Domowitch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great show. You were talking earlier about whether the Eagles were an elite team.
Yep.
And as Seth said, I think they're learning to be a very good team. I think a big factor here is, they're in a conference right now, the NFC, which they're very fortunate to be in. Other than the Bucs and the Rams, I mean, they've got a legitimate chance to get to the NFC Championship game. You're in the AFC right now. You're looking at a cluttered half dozen, 7, 8 teams with elite quarterbacks, where it's so. The timing is good for them, just like it was in the 2000s with Andy when the division wasn't very strong.
Don't sleep on Green Bay either. They've shown in the last couple of weeks that those rookie receivers are opening up for Aaron. Their defense playing better. Listen, playoff time, I'm always down on them because Aaron Rodgers hasn't played well under pressure, and I'm willing to say that, and he just hasn't. But there's been other problems too. But I think Green Bay is a factor too.
I look at Tampa Bay and Green Bay. They obviously have Hall of Fame quarterbacks, but the receivers right now, Mike Evans will be back next week after the suspension, but I don't know, they've got so many injuries, and the rookies with Green Bay, I just think those are guys that good defenses are going to be able to shut down in the playoffs.
My only worry about the Eagles is, similar to last year, they did not fare well against playoff caliber teams early in the year. And when they got into the playoffs, you just knew that they didn't have a snowball's chance of beating, Tampa Bay.
That was evident.
Yeah, and so the problem is this year, they possessed the second easiest schedule in the National Football League. So you play all of these cream puffs, and then you get to you get to the playoffs, and you may win a first round game.
Yeah.
You may win a first round home game, but when you have to play one of the upper echelon teams, when you get to like the last four in the division, when you get to the semi-round, then you're going to have to. It's going to be a wake-up call for them because the level of play is going to be different. It's different playing Green Bay and the Rams and Tampa Bay. And if you don't play teams like that throughout the year, and all of a sudden you face them, it's almost a shock to the system because they're a lot much more complex. They're much more talented than what you've seen. And it's almost a shock to the system because you have to almost raise your game to a level that you've never taken it to just to respond.
Well, let's flip over all the game show cards theoretically and say they're playing the Bills next week, which they're not, obviously. Jacksonville's coming in. But if they're playing the Bills week 4, a lot of people still think the Bills are the best team in the league, despite losing yesterday. If they're playing a team like that with Josh Allen and the Diggs and the weapons on defense, never mind their whole secondary is out there, their whole secondary is back playing. For this question, what do you do against a team like that if you're the Eagles? What would be the one thing they could do best, and what would be the one thing they'd have to watch out for?
Well, you know that when you play Buffalo that, they can run the ball, but that's not their strong suit. Their strong suit is, passing the ball, and when things break down, Josh Allen being able to improvise on the fly. A controlled rush where you keep him in the pocket, that's what they used to do with Randall. They used to let Randall run all over the NFL. And then by the time the playoffs start, the defensive ends would get up the field 3 yards, and they'd stop. And they'd create a pocket for Randall to stay in, and he'd be looking for somewhere to run to, and there would be nowhere to go because they would never let him break contain. They make him operate from the pocket. Now, the other part is that Josh Allen can operate from the pocket, So, it's that, what do you do? Is Darius Slay talented enough to travel with Diggs wherever he goes and cover him man on man, for 60, 65, 70 plays? That's the question that you have. Yeah. And quiet is kept. Everybody keeps talking about Buffalo. I believe that Miami might be the best AFC team right now.
No speed on the outside offensively.
Really? I mean, they're a juggernaut. And if they find any kind of running game, to keep you honest as a defensive coordinator, you have nightmares trying to call that game.
Is Tua? I mean, I'll be honest with you. I think Jalen Hurts is a better quarterback than Tua. I've thought it since their college days. But Tua has to have impressed you the last 3 weeks. Now, it's easy to impress when you have the Jamaican Olympic track team on the outside like they do with Waddle and Hill.
Well, listen, when you lose your job in a national championship game, you lose your job for a reason, okay? And it's not that Tua can't play. I think that, it's taken him a long time for that hip to get back to a place where he could actually, throw the ball the way he wants to.
Is he an NFL arm, though, in your opinion? A real NFL arm?
Did you see him in week 2?
Yeah. He
throw for almost 400 yards in the second half?
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't like he was throwing, 10-yard routes. I mean, those bombs that he was throwing to Tyreek Hill, same thing with Jalen Hurts. Oh, he can't throw the ball 53 yards, to Quez Watkins. I'm like, come on, man. Yeah. What are we talking about? Are we just making up stuff? Now, I can understand the accuracy piece of it, and a lot of time what the accuracy is understanding timing. Because unlike college, you don't have time in the NFL to sit back and look and try to determine where you want to throw it. And the pro game is all about timing. If you're a half a titch off when you throw the ball, it might be intercepted. And that affects, how you place the ball and where you place the ball. But as these young guys continue to get older and they understand that, they're just going to get better.
Now, the addition of A.J. Brown has obviously made Jalen a better
100%.
Yep.
And the growth
Well, I wanted to ask you,
of Devontae Smith.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you, when you look at Jalen last year, now, what is the biggest thing that impresses you with where he's shown growth?
His decisiveness. He's not locked into one place. He's got a better idea where everybody is, and he's extremely decisive. Listen, I can't impress upon you how important of a pickup, A.J. Brown was. And whatever money they paid him, you know, wasn't enough. And let me tell you why. Because you got a stable full of young wide receivers that really didn't know how to play. Okay? They were learning on the fly, just like these coaches were learning on the fly. Now you have a mentor-type veteran at that position that I guarantee you is helping Devontae Smith develop quicker, okay? Just helping Quez Watkins get better, okay? And he also helps the quarterback because the quarterback's only going to a second year of playing. He's been a Pro Bowl wide receiver before. So there are things like I can imagine him running a route, you know, in training camp and Jalen being a half a tick too late, and he coming back to the huddle. Hey, man, you got to let that ball go. When I put my foot in the ground at 9 and I'm breaking at 10, when I put my foot in the ground at 9, that damn ball better be out of your hand, okay? Or else, you know, we're going to have problems. Yeah. So that kind of, not only the coaching that he's getting, and I don't know what it is about Shane Steichen. He was not liked in San Diego, but all of a sudden the guy knows how to call plays here. He knows how to adjust here. I tip my hat to him because he's done a phenomenal job the last 3 weeks. But all of those things factor into Jalen Hurts' growth, his development, and the fact that he wants to be great and he's willing to put in the work to be great, and he's never satisfied. It goes a long way, man. I mean, if you're willing to put in the work and you want to be great and you love football, kind of like Nick Sirianni says, and you eat, sleep, and drink football and you dream football even while you sleep, guess what? You're going to be great at it.
Well, a lot of people eat, sleep, and drink football in Philadelphia, but they've stopped drinking as you are not any longer on NBC Sports Philadelphia's post-game show. A lot of people got their sip of analysis from you, and you're in a different place now. We like to promo whatever we promo on this show. Tell us where you are now, where people can find you, and whatever you like about that.
Good Lord. I've got so much going on this year. Okay, so I'm no longer at NBC. I'm now doing a pre- and post-game show with Derek Gunn and Mike Missinelli. Every Sunday we're down in Atlantic City at Oceans Casino.
Okay.
So we're with a media group called Jacob Media. The shows are aired on 6abc.com's streaming app, but you can also watch it on YouTube at Jacob Media's YouTube page.
And Jacob spelled a little bit differently.
Yeah, Jakib.
Okay.
And so it's live on both of those platforms. Okay. Then, after the post game is over, I get in my car, I drive from Atlantic City back into the city, and I head out to 6ABC. I do Sunday Night Sports with Deuces Rogers on 6ABC from 11:30 to 12. Then I get up on Monday morning. I'm live in studio with Angelo Cataldi for 2 segments from 9 to 9:30 on WIP. And then Tuesdays, I started doing my own show. I host my own show. It's called The Seth Joyner Show.
How'd you come up with a name?
I don't know. We tape on Tuesday, and the show airs on 6ABC on Thursday, PHL 17 on Friday at 9 p.m.
Wow.
I'm finishing up negotiations with NBC Sports Philadelphia, so it'll air 3 different times on NBC Sports Philadelphia during the week, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And then obviously, you know, it doubles as my podcast because I got so much going on that I'm not doing a podcast. So that show shows up on my podcast on the Seth Joyner channel on YouTube on Friday and on Jacob Media as well.
I want to point out I'm a colleague of Seth's. I write for the Jacob Sports website. So.
All good stuff. I mean, people want to see you, people want to hear you, and you're all around. I mean,
well, you got to tell people where you are too. I mean, that's part of, you know, when you leave. You know, I'm pretty active on Twitter during the game, and people are like, "Where are you at? What are you doing? You know, we miss you on here," and I have to tell them. But you know, it's you know, the big thing for me was being able to create something that I own and content that I could create and build something for myself. You know, it's fun. You know, doing the pre and post game show. I always love to do that. But you know, having my own show being able to be on, with Angelo in the morning, being that this is going to be his last year.
Yep.
He's a hoot. But, listen, I love the game. I love what I do. And, if I had something to do Monday through Friday every single day during the football season, I would certainly do it because, it's not work to me. It's what I love to do.
Now, do you stay in Philly the entire week during the season?
I'm in Philly a lot more now than I used to be. So I was in Philly from you remember we were at the Hall of Fame deal.
Right.
We were out at Firestone, the place we were at. So that guy invited me to come back out and play some golf. So I was out there on August 25th, 26th, and 27th, and then I flew to Philadelphia. And last Wednesday was the first day I actually went back home for 3 days to Arizona. Yeah. So, and now that I'm back here, I'll be here for the next 2 or 3 weeks before I go back again.
Let's hope Seth has to make a trip home to Arizona for the Super Bowl if the Eagles are there. Something else going on in Arizona I want to ask Seth about. We're going to talk about around the NFL and stuff, but Seth's a pretty deep guy, pretty interesting guy. He's, I'm sure, going to have something to say about this. It has nothing to do with football, but you're going to want to hear about it when we come back with the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff. Charlie and Larry getting ready in the bullpen with Dan Baker. We're back after this.
Hard Rock Cafe has it all. Great food takes center stage as they tune up your visit with free live music every Friday night at 6. Sponsored by Conshohocken Brewing Company. See Philly's best rocking the main stage while you enjoy Hard Rock favorites right here in Center City. Pickup, delivery, and catering available. For more info, visit hardrockcafe.com.
I'm Lisa Thomas-Laurie. If you're on Medicare, I've got great news. Keystone 65 HMO plans from Independence Blue Cross have earned 5 stars, Medicare's highest rating for 2022. Some plans have no monthly premiums, no deductibles, and no copays for primary care visits and some prescription drugs. Don't wait. Visit ibxmedicare.com/star.
Every year, Medicare evaluates plans based on a 5-star rating system. Keystone 65 offers HMO plans with a Medicare contract. Enrollment in Keystone 65 Medicare Advantage plans depends on contract renewal. This is a paid endorsement.
A truly unique dining experience awaits you at Fogo de Chão. Fogo de Chão awes patrons with their history and tradition of authentic Brazilian steakhouse, offering many cuts of decadent fire-roasted meats prepared over an open fire and served tableside by trained gaucho chefs. Currently featuring a holiday promotion. If you reserve your party now, your guests are rewarded with 2 gifts of your choosing. Contract required. Fogo de Chão, 1337 Chestnut Street in Center City, Philadelphia. For reservations, go to www.fogo.com or call 215-636-9700.
Fall into relaxation at Hand & Stone Massage and Facial Spa. For an introductory price of just $69.95, enjoy the tranquility of their massage services and the rejuvenating glow their facial services provide. They even have specialty services such as a pumpkin facial or their signature hot stone massage. Restore, relax, and reset at one of Hand & Stone's 57 locations in Delaware, South Jersey, and Philadelphia, including the Lehigh Valley, for an introductory price of just $69.95. Call or book online at handandstone.com. Restrictions apply. See spa for details.
We now return to the Hard Rock Cafe Philadelphia in downtown Center City for the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Once again, here are your hosts, Paul Jolovitz and Paul Domowitch.
All righty, back here at Hard Rock where we are every Monday from 6 to 7, 5 to 6, as long as the Phillies are going. The Bull session tonight with Dan Baker and Larry Boa, Charlie Manuel, the guest following this. And next week for sure, hopefully a few weeks into the future with the Phillies. With Seth Joyner, another sport we're going to touch on, right? We could go around the NFL, Domo, but I want to get Seth's opinion on this because Seth lives in Phoenix. His main home's in Phoenix. And there's a guy out in Phoenix you may have heard of named Robert Sarver who's owned the Suns for many, many years. And I've known about this investigation for many, many years. It's nothing new. But it came to a head last week. We know about Daniel Snyder in Washington. Donald Sterling forced to sell the Clippers. Daniel Snyder's not necessarily about racism. Robert Sarver's about a lot of different things. But Seth, tell us about the climate in Phoenix, about the Suns, about Robert Sarver, about that whole thing. He's going to sell the team. Chris Paul's come down on him, many players. Obviously, he shouldn't be in the NBA or anywhere else. What's your thoughts on the whole matter?
Well, the truth of the matter is, Adam Silver came out and said, listen, we can't force the guy to sell his franchise.
They can, though.
Well, they can, but legally,
right?
They've got some problems on their hand. Listen, I know people in Arizona that know him personally, And this is no surprise.
No.
You know, what's happened and what's transpired, if you know the person, if you know him personally, if you've dealt with him up close and personal, you know, you're not surprised by, you know, what's come to light and who he is and how he is. Rightfully so, the players should be voicing their opinion. Rightfully so, the pressure should be so insurmountable that, you know, he decides to sell the team and walk away.
And with sponsors jumping and other stuff like that, it kind of forced his hand.
Well, absolutely. And at the end of the day, how are you supposed to hold your players accountable and make your players be accountable to the public, you know, when you are, you know, less than righteous yourself? You know, now, so I don't know. It's just, and you see it in all sports. You know, the whole thing with Daniel Snyder. There shouldn't even be a conversation about, you know, what should transpire.
Yeah.
The NFL should just force him to sell that team, because you can't, you know, the things that went on in that organization and the things that they did in that organization that has come to light, there's no reason in the world why someone should have the privilege of owning an NFL team. Just take your $3-4 billion and go away and have someone else come in and own and run the team.
A nice consolation prize, Domo, huh?
Yeah, you know, with Snyder, it's just amazing. I mean, when Jerry Richardson, when all that came down several years ago, you know, he obliged. They told him, you got to leave, you got to sell, and he did so. For some reason, and I don't understand what it is.
Oh, you know what it is, Domino.
What's
you
that?
know what it is. Yeah, I'm going to tell
lawsuits?
you. I'm going to tell you what it is. Okay. There are things that, if they force Daniel Snyder to sell that team, there are things that he can divulge that will make the NFL look.
He knows too much.
Well, it's called discovery. They don't want discovery to happen because of what he can say.
So now, what they don't want to do is they don't want to open the can of worms that is John Gruden.
Absolutely not.
John Gruden's going to get his $100 million because they want him to shut his mouth and go away.
If he let all his secrets out, Seth, oh my God.
It's not even a secret. You know what I want? You know what I really want? I want those other 600,000 emails opened up so we can see, because the type of emails that he was sending, you don't send those emails to people who don't think like you think, who don't believe what you believe, who don't carry themselves in that kind of character, okay? And it's not just one guy that he was sending that email to. Those emails were going out to a whole bunch of people. So now some of those people that those emails went to are in power positions, and if it came to light, it would shake the entire NFL up. Now, and the NFL would have to completely restructure itself. So guess what? They're trying to figure out a way not to have those emails, you know, be divulged.
Yeah.
John Gruden's going to be, unfortunately, a big winner. And all you talk about Sarver, Damo, Gruden's going to get a whole lot of money, and the public's going to go, how'd that happen? It's because discovery, the process of vetting the emails, they do not want to let that happen no matter what.
Listen, John Gruden wants to coach. I mean, that's what he is. He's a coach. You know, no matter what you think about him, you know, he's a coach, and he wants to coach. It's not about the money. He's been coaching a long time. He's made a boatload of money.
Yeah.
So it's not about the money. It's about them saying, okay, we're going to pick you out, and we're going to make an example out of you. Yeah. And he's like, you got to be kidding me. All these other people and all the things that I know, you're not going to make an example out of me, you know.
No, it's killing him not to be able to coach.
Absolutely.
It sure is. I mean, Damo, we got a game tonight.
We do.
NFC East, the 2-0 New York Giants. However, that has occurred under Brian Daboll. They've squeamed out 2 games against the Dak Prescott-less Dallas Cowboys. Cooper Rush coming to Jerry Jones' aid. Jerry Jones now says there's a quarterback controversy in Dallas.
Who said that?
Jerry Jones.
Jerry Jones did?
Well, he intimated that. He didn't say it directly, but, you know, he's a master showman. He's a salesman.
Didn't he say it'd be great if he played well enough to create a...
Yeah.
You know, it's Jerry Jones talk.
You want to know something, though? He does run the offense much more efficiently than Dak does.
Yeah.
It's scary. Yeah. It's scary.
What do you mean by interesting? What do you mean by that?
When you watched him play last week, that offense ran more efficiently under Cooper Rush than it has under Dak Prescott.
Is that because Dak
just doesn't have the talent?
Well, I mean, he has to take what's the obvious, what's there.
Yeah.
No freelancing?
Dak's got an arm, and he's got athleticism that, you know, allows him to kind of freelance and do some things, you know. But they relied on the running game. They relied on the defense. and he took what was there. So, I mean, at the end of the day, he actually is a much more efficient, quarterback, although less spectacular than Dak Prescott. And it makes you wonder, you're paying Dak $40 million a year. You could be paying Cooper Rush $2-3 million a year and getting the same thing.
Well, you're going to be paying Jalen a lot more this year, too. That's quarterback on a rookie contract obviously is the best thing any team can have. But taking a look at tonight's game, both of you guys, who you got? Giants a 1-point favorite at home. I got the Giants. I can't believe I'm saying this, going to 3-0. And they play the Bears next week, so they could be 4-0. I don't think they're a long-term threat, but this short term, they're getting their fans a lot of zip, right?
Yeah, I like the Giants. I mean, I think that, they finally made a couple good hires with their head coach and GM. I've never been as down on Daniel Jones as a lot of people. Saquon Barkley seems to be healthy again.
Yep.
I mean, they've got a lot of deficiencies. I mean, we're not talking about a team that's going to go make a deep playoff run, but they have a chance tonight to win, especially at home.
Seth, who you got?
Pains me to say it because you know how much I loathe the Dallas Cowboys. There's no way in hell that offense is doing anything against that defense. That defense is a problem. Yeah. I mean, especially once you get Micah Parsons, ramped up, and everyone else kind of, and it's crazy because he's the young guy, but everybody else feeds off of him. It's almost like how do we let this young guy come in and be as dominant as he is, and we're slacking. So I mean that defense. I mean they might be able to do something in the secondary, but that front, no, they're going to make Daniel Jones look like the quarterback that he really is. And Saquon is going to struggle because they play hard, they run fast to the ball, and they are aggressive.
All right, Don, we only got about a minute and a half left. Dougie Fresh, as a lot of people call him, and the Jaguars come in next week. Not the Jaguars. There's no such thing as a Jaguar. The Jaguars. That's the English car. That's the football team.
It all depends on where you're from, man.
And it could be. I mean, but
Jaguar.
Jaguars are like the Eagles. They're a lot better than they were last year. Doug's got Trevor Lawrence in gear. They whacked the Chargers yesterday with a banged-up Justin Herbert. They scored 38 on their defense. Who you got Sunday? We've got about a minute.
I'm going to take the Eagles. I mean, home. But the Jaguars are a very improving team. I mean, Doug Peterson's the best thing that ever happened to Trevor Lawrence. You look at the last 2 weeks, his numbers are just phenomenal. I mean, that's a team on the move.
Seth,
they don't have a whole lot of wide receivers. I mean, can you name one of the wide receivers on the Jaguars?
No.
So I think that if
Christian
the Eagles
Kirk.
But he's a little guy. You can beat him up.
Yeah.
If the Eagles go into this game with the same mindset defensively that they have the last 2 weeks, if they believe that if they've got their kryptonite in their back pockets and they put that kryptonite on that quarterback, then you can make him be the young player that he truly is. They got a pretty good running game, but I just don't think they come up from Florida up here into the link with all the rabid fans that we're going to have and do what they did to the Chargers last week. I just don't see it happening.
All right, that's the final word tonight. We all like the Eagles next Sunday. Everybody getting ready for the second half of our doubleheader, the Bull Session. Seth Joyner, thank you so much for being with us, and may her bless. Rest in peace, my man.
Thank you, man.
Domo, thank you so much.
Thanks for coming, Seth.
Yep, we're here at the Hard Rock every Monday.
And
We're here at
listen to Seth on Jacob Media.
Absolutely.
Yes,
Seth's on Jacob Media. Listen to us next Monday at 5 o'clock. Our guest will be Mike Reichenbach. Stay tuned for Larry Boa, Dan Baker. They got Charlie Manuel on the Bull Session for the Monday Night Kickoff. I'm Paul Jolovitz for Paul Domowitch and Seth Joyner. Good night, everybody, and go Eagles.
You've been listening to the Independence Blue Cross Monday Night Kickoff Show. Tonight's show is an exclusive presentation of WBCB 1490 and 107.3 FM and heard around the world at WBCB1490.com.